Hey guys, welcome back to Game Frenzy. Today we'll talk about why InquisitorMaster is against abortions. Let's head into it. Number 5. Who is InquisitorMaster?
What even is this?
InquisitorMaster is a famous YouTuber and female gamer. Born as Alex Einstein in 1994 in the US, she grew up playing computer games and various console games. Alex is a big fan of cosplay as well, and she's an avid YouTuber whose first channel was titled How I Became the Joker. Currently, her main account InquisitorMaster has over 4.5 million followers, who love Alex's videos for interesting and funny content. She likes Nintendo 64, Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda, Roblox, Xbox 360, and so on. Apart from the gaming content, InquisitorMaster also does vlogs, posts videos about her large toy collection, tries on superhero costumes, and does plenty of other interesting things. Her boyfriends were famous YouTubers like Marcus Peterson, and currently she is dating Zachary Todd. She's a good friend of Akila Collins, who is a Roblox games fan. Number 4. Religious arguments.
Oh, it's a puppy.
InquisitorMaster mentioned in various videos that she's very religious and went to a Catholic school as a child. As you probably know, many religious people see abortions as a form of murder. A close friend of Alex, who works as a pastor, once published this statement: God-given human life is God's own property. It is sacred from the first moment of its existence and not under the control of any human being. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5. God alone is Lord over life and death. Not even my life belongs to me. Every child, from the moment of conception on, has a right to life. From his earliest beginnings, an unborn human being is a separate person, and no one can infringe upon his rights. Not the state, not the doctor, not even the mother. The church's clarity about this is not a lack of compassion. She means rather to point out the irreparable harm that is inflicted on the child who was killed in an abortion, and on his parents and on society as a whole. Protecting innocent human life is one of the noblest tasks of the state. If a state evades this responsibility, it undermines the foundations of a rule of law. It seems obvious that InquisitorMaster's opinion is probably pretty similar. Number 3. Scientific arguments. InquisitorMaster often told us that she supports science. After the science of embryology states that from the moment of conception, a human being is formed. The DNA it has is not only human DNA, but the DNA of an individual distinct from that of either parent. In forensic criminology, DNA is used to distinguish one person from another, so the DNA of an embryo indicates that the embryo is a person. To aid a person who engages in abortion or promotes abortion makes one an accessory to murder. What has been said above is science, not faith. Anyone who says that he personally opposes abortion but will not publicly oppose it because he does not want to impose his faith on others is talking nonsense. It is a matter of science, not faith. Christian faith teaches them that murder is a grave sin, and that one who approves of anyone's murder and promotes murder also commits a grave sin. This alone should make it obvious why the religious Alex Einstein opposes abortions. Number 2. Facts and numbers about abortions.
I lost brain cells reading that.
Did you know that less than 0.5% of abortions performed are from rape victims according to abort73.com? No one gets a right to choose whether or not something gets to live or die based on your own convenience. That is pure evil. If that young baby is born outside the womb and you stuck a knife through its chest, you would be charged with first-degree murder. You killed it in a womb and you call it a human right. It's not a human right because that is a human being, and it doesn't have any rights since you decided its rights are less important than your own. For InquisitorMaster, this should be obvious as she's probably pregnant herself and couldn't stand killing her own baby. What human being would be capable of committing such a barbaric act? Life begins at conception. Another thing to take into account is that the fetus can feel pain during the abortion procedure. According to Maureen Kondik, Associate Professor of Neurobiology and Anatomy and Adjunct Associate Professor of Pediatrics at the University of Utah School of Medicine, stated the most primitive response to pain is the spinal reflex. There is universal agreement that pain is detected by the fetus during the first trimester, according to Canwell G, JS, and MBBS, Professor of Pediatrics, Anesthesiology, and Neurobiology at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center. Women should not be able to use abortion as a form of contraception. It's immoral to kill an unborn child, based on your own personal convenience. The Guttmacher Institute reported that 45% of all women having abortions every year have had at least one abortion previously. Meanwhile, 8.6% of abortions reported to CDC in 2014 were undergone by women who have had 3 or more abortions previously. Even pro-choicers have to admit that these are some really good arguments against abortions. Since InquisitorMaster is pretty intelligent, you should expect her to understand this, and therefore oppose abortions. Number 1. Trump's stance on abortions. Because of the above mentioned reasons, Christians now have politicians who approve of and support abortion, the murder of this defenseless child. How can they say that voting for such politicians is not a grave sin? They need to keep all this in mind when they come to vote in November, and the only candidate who really opposes abortions, well besides Kanye West, is Donald Trump, who is on his 3rd marriage and has publicly talked about groping women, might not seem like the kind of figure who would align with Catholic values. But Trump is what many of his supporters call the most pro-life president ever, and for that large number of Catholics who are so-called single-issue voters, that's what matters. They appreciate that Trump was the first president to speak in person at the annual anti-abortion March for Life in 2020. Most Catholics believe the Bible should be interpreted literally, and 63% read scripture at least once a week. According to the Pew Research Center, they believe that human life begins at fertilization, and citing one of the 10 commandments, thou shalt not kill, they categorically reject abortion. That's why, for most Catholics, supporting a candidate who is anything other than strictly anti-abortion is out of the question. With that said, we now know who InquisitorMaster will probably vote for the next election. What do you think about InquisitorMaster's stance on abortions? Do you agree with her? Let us know in the comment section. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.